if Belichick was the GM and hired Sean Payton, then I think there would be a level of understanding. But then you'd have to worry about, like, but what about my kids? I'm sorry. Well, my kids, can I get my kids off the bus first? Can they stay on the bus? Yeah, I think the real quandary it isn't so much like, hey, get a great coach in here, is what does Bill do in the meantime? If Bill is the general manager and he's willing to get a great coach and fully turn over the autonomy of play calling, style of play, what defense you want to run, who you want to bring in as your coordinators, and Bill allows them to do that, then I think that's a great mentor and leader and a great pair of eyes at the GM level. And maybe there's someone who can kind of, okay, Bill, here's how you work QuickBooks, and this is how you really go after receivers with good money. I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. But yet Bill can move into that role where, hey, I'm a fan of you can always learn. It's never too late to learn. So if Belichick at the GM level can become even a quarter of as good as he's been as a head coach, you're not far away, fan base, from having a Super Bowl caliber team being built very soon.
It's too hard to do that.
Yeah, but this late in the game, and you're so close to Shula, and you can taste the finish line. How do you convince Bill to stop coaching? Because if you tell him, okay, well, give up the GM duties, well, do you think he's going to want to give up who the players are? I mean, my goodness, my old neighbor from New Jersey said infamously about my high school classmate, if I can't buy the groceries, then why have me cook? Yeah. It would almost be that same situation all over again. You can have Bill Belichick as the head coach and have a GM, and the GM getting the players that Bill doesn't necessarily want. I mean, I guess what would be the modern term of that, Like, you can't have me DoorDash and not allow me to taste the food. That's not legal, is that, Joe? You're not supposed to do that, right?
I would say no.
It happens. It's happened. I've had a person that's like, how do you have food delivered to you from one of the lazier places that make food, right? Like, if you expect high quality food being delivered to you from a place that's just kind of lazy about making it, then you can't be mad if like half the bun is missing. You can't be mad. And that's kind of what's going on here. Like, if you're putting a couple of guys that have no clue of offense in charge of the offense, it's like half the bun is missing. Here's Tommy Curran saying that, look, maybe this is why you don't see a bunch of people just running to New England to be part of the Patriot way.
Bill doesn't seek them, and I don't think that guys are beating down the door to get here. He's not going to look for the Sean McVay disciple, whoever it is, and I wouldn't be looking for a Sean McVay disciple either. But, whoever it is growing on that tree that you would want to bring in, would Bill say, yeah, let's go ahead and do that? They're very much their own little greenhouse. They grow everything locally. They don't go outside and import, whether it's offensively, defensively, offensive line. And as a result, their tree has been overfed. I don't know, getting into my metaphors here. They spent too much time sowing the same land.
Yeah.
And they don't have anybody anymore.
Yeah. Any good farmer would tell you that if you grow corn, right? You got a couple of years to kind of run that play. After a while, if you try and continue to grow corn in that same ground, it ain't going to grow. You've sucked up all the nutrients. It doesn't work anymore. And I think that's part of it. I've said this even about Mac Jones a little bit, that Mac Jones is kind of a quarterback that's of an old style in a league where, hey, quarterback can make plays and get first downs on their own. You see Mac do it, and first thing he's like, you don't want him doing that. But that's where the game is leading to. But at the same time, you got to work with what you got. And if that's the case, why not go get someone, especially when you look at Tua and what Mike McDaniels has done with Tua there in Miami, is that here's a young guy. He says, I believe in what you can do, and the two of us are going to do this together. Bill couldn't find a guy to do that, right, under his tutelage, right? Because out of Bill's tree, the offensive guys have not really done very well. I mean, Josh McDaniels has had 3 good weeks right now. He's had 3 good weeks. The Romeo Crennels, the Charlie Weisses, 4 thumbs down, execute them now with coaching. No. And so at some point you say, okay, if your tree isn't going to grow, are the seeds that you plant or responsible for growing, will they grow? And Mac Jones is really the first real example of that, right? Because let's call it what it is with Brady. Brady was still available in the 6th round. So there was a bunch of teams. Every other team went around the mulberry bush multiple times. It wasn't like, hey, I moved up to go get him. This wasn't like Cole Strange. Like, I've got a 3rd rounder that I've got to move up to the 1st round to get. Like, Bill didn't even move up to the 3rd round to get Brady. So, yeah, it's a seed that you kind of, it was like included with the pack. You know, like I bought a pack of seeds. And, I didn't realize there's a Brady seed in here. Let me see what this can do. This is the one where you've actively gone and gotten. It just behooves me how, like, okay, if the kid played at Alabama, and maybe you did make a run at Bill O'Brien, maybe that was a part of the desired plan and it didn't turn out and Saban said no, and there's nothing you can control about that. But guess what? Alabama's lost 2 games. They're getting ready to play Kansas State. Do you think there are kids jumping out of that school, jumping into the portal quicker than I don't know what? You don't think Bill O'Brien's available now?